Andrew, what do you think are the main trends currently affecting the food service business?
I think there's a lot going on at the minute, a lot of things which is making it a very interesting place. I'll just pick out a few for you. The whole issue and area of provenance, the story behind the product, where the product's coming from, and again linking that with ethical trading, people's concerns about the environment. You've got all of that in one space. Interestingly, we're seeing a real pull for Mexican food now, a lot of Asian food, new variants on Asian food being developed, and again portion sizes and the way in which we display food and we serve food. So lots of demand for sharing plates, small plates, tasting menus, going possibly with flights of wine, tasting of beers. So lots of different things happening in the marketplace.
Do you think that the continuing economic climate is impacting consumer behaviour?
I think it has. There's no doubt that people are more focused on value for money now. Not the same as looking for the cheapest product, and there is still very much a market for premium products, but people are very focused on, is it a fair price, am I getting good quality product, and is the service great? And if you get those things there, there is still a very exciting market at all price points.
So are there other underlying trends that you've identified that are determining customers' preferences?
Well, I've talked about some of the new sort of ethnic cuisines, but I think stepping back from that, healthy eating is clearly on many people's agenda at the minute, so diet and being very aware of what's in the food. And there is no doubt that's playing a part in the mix and changing the mix somewhat.
Now, food and beverage prices continue to be significantly higher on airports than the high street. In today's climate, how can this variance continue to be justified? And does the very nature of the airport business model always preclude the possibility of passengers, customers, ever actually getting a good deal?
I think quite often the customer gets a very good deal, and again I will make this point, it's about value for money. Price is important, the quality of service is important, and the quality of product is important. So all of that needs to be looked at together. In many airports, the airport operates a policy of matching downtown prices. So it is not true that they're always more expensive, although often the consumer perception is that they are. And again, other things like the car park charges, etc., sort of fuel that perception. But I think you also have to acknowledge that the cost of operating an airport is pretty significant. It's a complex environment. There's all sorts of complexity associated with working in an airside environment. So the cost in the system has the effect of pushing prices up. Our job is to try and mitigate that and give a great value for money.
I guess the recent fluctuation in exchange rates doesn't help.
Well, I think it depends where you are. If you're travelling through Switzerland at the minute, life can feel pretty expensive if you're not being paid in Swiss francs.
The global food and beverage offer has really moved on dramatically from the historic cookie cutter approach from, say, maybe 10 years ago. But the players in the global business today have become increasingly polarised. Just how much research do you do to accommodate the local flavour, particularly when pitching to any airport?
Yeah, we've done an enormous amount of research, and I think it's understanding the consumer that is key to our success in being able to create the right solution for an airport. And within that, we're finding more and more the demand for localization to create this sense of place so that people can relate to where they are. Of course, our sort of decentralized structure plays to that as well, having people on the ground who really understand the local marketplace. And it's a really crucial part of the mix, both from the point of view of the client, the airport, who wants to create that sense of space and to differentiate their airport from other airports, and crucially the customer coming through who wants to eat and drink where they are. I mean, I'll give you one or two examples that we've done recently, working with a guy called Danny Garcia in Malaga, who's got a fabulous Michelin-starred restaurant, but also very innovative tapas bars in the city. And we've brought that, adapted it to the airport environment, and it's a fabulous offer. In Switzerland, we work with Gilles de Pont, who's got, again, a very smart restaurant on the lake, to create something which is reminiscent of the environment in the Montreux Jazz Cafe. Again, reflecting what's happening in that part of Switzerland, bringing a little bit of the ethos of the jazz festival into a cafe environment, and very much speaking to the lakeside location.
Do you think that there is enough research being done in this sector? And arguably, is there enough research being undertaken by your airport partners?
There is a lot of research, I think, done. Certainly a number of airports are spending time and money really understanding what's going on in their airport. I think a number of the sort of concessionaires are doing the same. We certainly have spent an enormous amount of money the last few years building a sort of view of consumer insight. But there could definitely be more, and I think there could be more joined up research. What we find there's a paucity of is industry-wide market data, certainly on F&B. And I think it may be an area where we can try and make the trinity more effective, the partnership between the operators and the airport operators and the concessionaires and the brand owners. Maybe that's a fertile area for working together.
So what direction do you think the food and beverage sector will take in the coming years?
I think the clue is in a lot of what you're now seeing, whether that's this increasing demand for sort of knowledge of provenance, ethical trading, environmental trading, looking at a broader spread of ethnic offers. I think you're also increasingly seeing people's demand for value for money, for quality, for premiumization coming through. I think if you look at the wider market, the high street is becoming much more an innovative place. People's design standards, people's innovation, people's use of technology is charging ahead. And you know, people expect rightly to see that in airports as well. So I think we will see an acceleration of the quality of the environments, an acceleration of the quality of the food, increased diversity of food, increased diversity of brands, a continuation of this swing away from international brands and cookie-cutter solutions to localized solutions, bespoke solutions, partnering with local heroes. So many of the emergent trends today I can see developing over the next few years.
That can't be a bad thing, and the consumer has to win. Better profiling, more niche products, broader canvas of product offer, and good value, perceived good value.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's just go to your business now. I mean, the business itself has grown exponentially over the last 5 or 6 years. What do you think are the key elements of its success?
I think investment in research, really taking the time at the beginning of our journey as an independent business to understand the consumer and understand the trends, the things that people were looking for, and obviously to execute against those, I think is one of the reasons. I think our ability to utilize our international footprint, joining up the business, leveraging expertise in different parts of the world to make, you know, the whole bigger than the sum of the parts, leveraging relationships with international players. I think a willingness to take risks and experiment and to look for solutions beyond the obvious international brands, whether that's partnering with very young and new companies or whether it's actually creating our own solutions. So I think a number of these things. I think also a sort of decentralized and empowered culture within our business. We've got very strong, very experienced teams all around the world doing extraordinary things. And I think, you know, our job at the middle of that, I guess, is to make sure that we leverage all of that innovation, all of that knowledge and all of that expertise and make the whole bigger than the parts.
If you had 3 words that best described your business, that were the emotional triggers that drive it, what would they be?
Passionate about food.
You consider yourself a food company first and last?
Absolutely.
Finally, Andrew, if there was one thing that you wanted the industry to focus on, one thing that you felt was worthy of campaigning over, what would it be?
Putting the customer first, customer service, outstanding customer service at all of the touch points in their journey through an airport.